We are in Beijing, China, where a group of Bruegel scholars participated at the US China-Europe Economics Symposium organized by Bruegel, the China Finance Forum 40, and the Peterson Institute for International Economics. I have here with me Gregory Claeys, who spoke about secular stagnation. So Gregory, this secular stagnation concept was given birth after the Great Depression. Does it have a relevance for today's economy?
Secular stagnation can be defined as a long period of low growth, low employment, but also by low inflation and low long-term interest rate. And I think it could characterize well the current period and the current recovery in advanced economies. The secular stagnation hypothesis could also be a good explanation for some features of the previous decade, in particular low inflation and low long-term interest rate.
Could you also please explain what factors can drive secular stagnation?
I see two main driving forces behind this possible movement of secular stagnation. The first one would be a global rise in savings that is especially concentrated in the hand of people with a low propensity to consume. In emerging markets, it would be by governments that have accumulated foreign exchange reserve, and in advanced economy, it would be in the hand of the most wealthy because of the rise of inequalities. The second main driving force of secular stagnation would be a possible lack of profitable and safe enough investment projects in advanced economies. And I think if you take those two driving factors together, this would result in a negative real interest rate. And because we are constrained by the zero lower bound and an inflation target at 2%, maybe the interest rate that is compatible with full employment cannot be reached. And that's why we would have a long period of low growth because of low aggregate demand.
The crucial question: what can policymakers do to remedy the situation? Because certainly no country wishes to see a secular stagnation.
Secular stagnation is still an hypothesis, but if we are really in a secular stagnation period, then I see three main options for policymakers to avoid it. The first one would be deep and long-term reforms. So policymakers should try to do reforms that would increase productivity of the workforce and their skills. They could also try to do to implement more progressive taxes, because this would put more resources in the hand of people with high propensity to consume. The second option could be fiscal policy, because we have a period of really low long-term interest rate, and government, especially government, for example, in core countries of the Eurozone like Germany, could use those low interest rates in order to do some public investment, and so in infrastructure, for example. And the third possibility for policymakers would be to use monetary policy, but it's more politically sensible, especially in the Eurozone, because one of the possibilities would be to raise the inflation target in order to have lower real interest rates, but this is still very controversial, especially in the Eurozone.